and welcome back to the House of the Stag podcast with another collaboration with my friend Eric from the Goblins channel. Eric, so good to have you back on. Thanks for joining
Of
me.
course.
Thanks for joining me.
No problem.
And
Always pleasure being on the channel.
and we're here to discuss the Game of Thrones cinematic universe, which is something that's obviously been discussed for a long time now with a lot of news, a lot of information about potential shows that we're getting that are in development, I have to say, as well as just recently with Duncan Egg, we discussed it on your channel.
Yep.
But today I wanted to talk about all of these shows separately and maybe add a few shows that we would like to see. In preparation for this video, I reached out to you. I told you, think about your dream TV series, Westeros related, and yeah, it'll be fun to see what you got.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm very excited.
So first things first, we have 5 shows in development so far, which is the Sea Snake, obviously about Corlys Velarion's Voyages, and we have a Nymeria's 10,000 Ships prequel, and we have the Jon Snow sequel, which, you know, we'll get into it later, but
yeah, we'll get there.
Then we have what else do we have?
Duncan Egg, and we have House of the Dragon right now. Was Aegon the Conqueror confirmed? I don't know. Like, I know they were talking about doing that.
There was a recent rumor about it, but I think someone just came out and said that it's not even an idea that really, but I'm not sure.
Oh.
What is in development though is the Golden Empire, the animated show about Yeti, which is something that we just don't have too much information about, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the very first one, which was what's the Sea Snake? What's your opinion on a show about Corlys Velaryon?
So I really like the idea of it. As a Song of Ice and Fire, fan, and his journeys are pretty interesting, I would say. And I think expanding upon like that as a show would be really cool. It could be something you can maybe compare to like a Mando thing, where it's like it's not maybe the most impactful for like say the universe, but it would be just some kind of cool adventures that I think would be really fun. The one thing I'd be worried about with a show like that is, I guess, maybe interest from the general public or from like a casual fan base, because I know my one of my complaints with House of the Dragon, and what I think would have been a great prelude to doing that show with Corlys Velaryon, is we didn't really get a lot of the Velaryons in season 1.
Exactly.
So like they haven't done a lot of the building of the hype for a show like that, is kind of my thoughts.
I was shocked that Corlys was not used as much as you would like to think when, think about it from HBO's point of view. You have a show in development that is exactly about this character, and then he barely gets his shine on the show. Like, we mainly talked about his wife Rhaenys and the Iron Throne, but
yeah,
I feel like there was just so much that they could have done with him. He has seen it all. He's been all around the world, and I was really hyped for it. I was hyped to learn more, and we never really got anything. I mean, that guy has been to Ashai, and we don't hear a single word about that, which is come on.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, I wish we had maybe more time. Maybe it was a time thing. And some of the biggest developments for Corlys are, the Stepstones, and we just didn't get any of that, unfortunately. So that was a lot of character development and building you could have done for him and like House Velaryon as a whole. And it's just really unfortunate we didn't get more scenes with like Corlys and Rhaenys, because in my opinion, I love their conversations. I think they're some of the best of the show is Corlys and Rhaenys, and we only get, I think, like 2 main ones of the entire first season.
And it's solely about Rhaenys, and I get that it's a very, very important plot point that she is the queen who never was, but I feel like there was more. And then in turn, to get back to the Sea Snake thing, I think right now it's out of all of these shows, it's quite unlikely that we'll get a Sea Snake show next, because
I agree.
There was no setup, and sure, the character looks amazing. Steve Toussaint is an American actor. Is an amazing actor. I really like his performance.
Yeah, he's great.
He has a certain gravitas that he brings to the table. When he's in a room with people, he owns that room. and
Yeah.
but still, it's not enough to set up a potential show. That being said, let's just get it right out of the way. A show that doesn't need any real setup is obviously the Snow thing, which to me,
Yep.
that came as a huge surprise because all I've been talking about when this whole thing started with Game of Thrones be potentially being explored in a televisual universe, I guess, was that Martin seemed to have creative control on these projects, which then in turn kind of proved wrong because why would he be working on a sequel to his unfinished book series?
And it just the whole premise of the Jon Snow show just doesn't make any sense to me. When we're trying to get away from season 8, because season 8 has ripple effects, and we've talked about this over and over and over again on shows like House of the Dragon and their future projects. Everyone is always referencing back to season 8 and can we, trust these directors to finish the show well and to keep up with it. Why would we go to the Jon Snow show, which is going to presumably follow directly after season 8, where people were already checked off of the show by the end of that anyway? What can you really do with the Jon Snow show that is impactful or is meaningful in any way? Like for me, I like Jon Snow, but by the time it got to the later seasons, I didn't really care about him as a character anymore. He wasn't really a character. So that's my outlook on it. But
The thing is, this is coming from Kit Harington himself. I think he put up a team. He started like working with a lot of people and writers, and yeah, he had a very he was going through a lot after Game of Thrones ended. So in my mind, this is probably about him wanting some kind of redemption. You know, he played this character for over 10 years when you count like
yep,
filming and everything, and then the way people you know made fun of it and everything. I feel like that's very hard. That was very hard on him, and he wants to have a better send off. And I mean that's very understandable, but still,
I agree.
I'm not sure if there's much story to tell. I guess you could do something north of the wall with Val,
Hmm.
and it continues a few years later after we see him where we saw him in the final episode of Game of Thrones. But everything that beyond that is really just season 9, and I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I don't want to see Daenerys coming into this in any way,
agreed.
shape, or form. Maybe you could do something. He's having a dream about Dany or something, and you can bring back Emilia Clarke. Wouldn't mind that, I guess, but bringing her back and just replaying that whole thing just to prove a point for, that there is a better ending out there for Game of Thrones. It's too late. It's too late. So
It's too late. So the way I could see the Jon Snow show being actually decent would be like you said, I feel like it has to be a contained story. Like it needs to be something like in the north where it's not like, oh, we're implementing Bran back into the story, we're implementing Dany back into the story, all these characters. I think what would maybe work well if they did want to do a Jon Snow show, like seriously, is really exploring Jon after the events of Game of Thrones. Like this dude's been through a lot. Like, he died. He had to kill, Dany. He's gone through a lot. He watched Ygritte die in his arms. A lot of psychological like stuff. It could be impacting a Jon Snow who he now has time to like think back on all these things. Like
mm,
before then, like he's been at constant war, whether that be in the north, whether that be against the White Walkers, whether that's the throne. He hasn't really had time to like ponder everything that's gone on. So like doing a show like this, you can maybe explore some of Jon's inner psyche. That would be an interesting thing that I would be kind of cool to look at. But outside of that, I don't know what else you would do there.
yeah, there's trauma. There's a lot of trauma, so there's definitely a story. I just hope it's this one and done miniseries that's about Jon Snow, bringing his character to a more satisfying end. But beyond that, I hope it stays relatively small scale. Because if you continue the story and let's say Daenerys gets resurrected, Arya Stark somehow comes back, you get Bran Stark in King's Landing, you have Sansa in Winterfell. All it does is just continuing a story that, you know,
people don't want to see, more or less. Like,
Oh, I think people would want to see. I guess this would be their rewrite of season 8. I guess, but if
I
you,
guess, but I feel like a lot of the characters have been killed at the, like, not killed, but I mean like their character arcs have been just kind of butchered. That's my whole problem with the Jon Snow show. It's like, how much can you really, I guess, fix his character after everything that's already happened? I don't really think there is a fix to his character. I think you can explore some of his character as a whole, but we still, we'll always remember that for like, a season, he was literally saying three lines, more or less. There's that issue that, yes, you can make another season and like say you try and fix things. There's always going to be the issues of those characters, like Bran, for instance, that we were not even going to get into in this video. But that's my issue.
the damage is done. The damage has been done for years. It all started in season 5, so you can't undo what you did. So you'd best just keep it separate and tell a story about this character. Moving on, however, because I feel like this could be a whole video on its own, and I feel like we are getting the show eventually. We will have those talks. Yeah, definitely down to talk to you again about this.
Of course. I got a lot to say on it.
Oh yeah, same. What else do we have? We have the Golden Empire, or just animated shows in general, which I'm not a big anime fan. I used to watch
I'm not either.
Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, and that's about it. But I'm obviously, it being a Song of Ice and Fire related, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a chance.
Yeah.
Whatever is gonna make it. I feel like there are very, like that's something that I definitely appreciate, is the art behind it. Like there are a lot of very talented studios working on stuff like that, so it's visually pleasing, and it'll be interesting to see, because who knows? Maybe you could do another adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire that's 100% fully faithful one day, and it's and it being animated just cheaper.
Oh yeah, and I don't really have any problems with this one. I think it's a interesting idea. I don't really have any strong opinions either way. I think, hopefully it's good. Hopefully, it works. Hopefully it does well with people, and maybe we'll see more of stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not attached to Yeetie. We don't even know anything about Yeetie, so yeah, it's just gonna be something that notes here and there by George, but apart from that, it's just made up. And
yep,
it's good. Part to you. If it's not, we have the live action shows. And then Nymeria is a cool one. Is a really cool one. It's a great idea in the first place. But I feel like this one is more for the hardcores,
I agree. I think of all of the ones we've talked about, I think it's the most intriguing. The one I'd be maybe the most interested in, because the Sea Snake one I would have been if they would have built into it more. But this one, I think the issue again is going to rely on, are people going to necessarily care about it? Compared to other shows that are going to be going on, I don't know. But I think a hardcore fan base like me or you, this would be pretty cool to see, but I don't know. I don't know how this show would do with casual people.
I don't know. I mean, HBO, and we talked about this for Duncan Egg.
Yeah.
There are, a million teasers, trailers, and whatevers, and you have the people back. But it's that thing. What are the people really here for? Is it just people in blonde wigs, or can you present them other stuff? That's gonna be interesting.
I agree. My thing with Duncan Egg, I guess, would be, I think it's a little bit more connected to the world. Maybe would be a thing I would put that on. And there's gonna be more there's more familiarity with a show like that than maybe the Nymeria show would be my only counter to that. But I still think, yeah, you're right. HBO would definitely pump it out, try to get people to watch it. Yeah.
Well, about Duncan Egg, we talked about that in great detail already, so guys, definitely go check out the video. It's on the Grease Goblins channel. So finally, what's your dream TV show? What is your number one? So, if you were the showrunner, let's say you are hired by HBO, do a Game of Thrones show, what would it be?